monk for over than 2 decades now, speaking at the biggest institutions of the world, guiding some of the most prominent people in the world, and helping people from all different walks of life. Please welcome to our Instagram Live none other than Gaur Gopal Das. Gaur Gopal Das, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Jay. Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you
Okay,
wonderfully.
brilliant.
Yeah, we can see you and
Thank
hear
you
you.
so much, Jay, for having me over for this session on Instagram. And again, I must say this for all our Instagram community, both communities watching, that Jay has been such an amazing friend for the last 15 years. And what an incredible person. Like I said, he says good things about me, but how can I mean, it's hard for me to get the words to praise this gentleman, you know. I mean, what an amazing friend, what an amazing human being with so much wisdom. And of course, all of you know the Jay, who is on Facebook, who's on Instagram, who's on YouTube. He's a billionaire, like I said earlier on the Facebook Live, that, you know, with billions of people seeing him, with billions of views all over the place. But what really, really is inspiring about Jay, which many of you don't, everybody would love to interact with him. I've had the privilege to spend so much time with him. But I must say that he's such an incredible, genuine human being. And what the impact that he has comes from that space of him being so deeply rooted in who he is. So, and of course, the book, his book is coming out in a month's time, 8th of September. He was an ex-monk. I'm still a monk here. His book is called Think Like a Monk. Mine is called The Way of the Monk. Looks like there's a lot of monk stuff going on here, Jay.
I think you said it best. I think you said it best. And I think it's a good thing, you know, it's a time in the world where, you know, I'm sure, I mean, you've been a monk for over 2 decades, but I'm sure you'll agree that, you know, the way that the world is going, there are so many wonderful qualities and teachings of monk life that apply to the chaos outside, that apply to the need for compassion, the need for understanding, which are all such wonderful monk principles. And for those of you who don't know, we just completed a 30-minute Facebook Live. So that's available on our live pages. We came out of Instagram. It's amazing to have over 10,000 people live right now. And I want you to stay tuned as we discuss the way of the monk today. I'm going to put the link into the comments right now. So if you have not purchased a copy of this book, I've just pinned it, and I'm going to pin it now. Give me 1 second. Here we go. This is always fun. There we go. It's pinned to the top. So the book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's available on IndieBound. It's available on Bookshop, and it's available on Sounds True. I put the link into the Instagram comments. You have to copy and paste them. So just take a picture of this. You can also post your favorite quote or thought that Gaur Gopal shares in this live as well. But make sure you grab a screenshot of this so that you can then type in the link that you'll have to do when you're on Google or whatever platform you're using. But let's dive straight into some of the questions that I haven't asked yet about the book and about yourself. I want to dive into a chapter that you specifically talk about, which is called Growing Through Gratitude. And now, why I thought that this was important to pick is that sometimes it feels very difficult to be grateful, especially in tough times. And whether we have personal issues or there's world issues, it can feel that gratitude is a very hard thing to have, because people think, well, how do I be grateful when everything's going wrong? So I wanted to hear your perspective of how we can grow through gratitude, especially at tough times.
Correct. Thank you, Jay, for that question. And looking forward to Think Like a Monk. I am so eagerly looking forward as well to read the book. I'm excited. I've been waiting. So, yeah, thank you for that question. How does one really practice gratitude in difficult times? So I think it's extremely important that we apply this principle of gratitude with great sensitivity. Because when people are in pain, to say that they should be grateful is violence. You know, it's toxic positivity. Positivity can get very toxic sometimes. When everything has to have a solution, you have to be positive about everything. You don't only see the silver lining around the cloud. But when will we then start being just ourselves, going through our own emotions, going through our own pain? And even that pain has value. It's a part of us. That imperfection has value. It's a part of us. So I feel one of the biggest violence that a lot of people in what they're talking about these days are committing to people is they're spreading toxic positivity. Positivity is very good, but toxic positivity is harmful because you're pushing yourself to be grateful. You're forcing yourself to stay positive. It's just okay to be me. It's okay to just accept my emotions for what they are. You know, sometimes it takes a while to come out of those emotions. You know, each one has different healing times. Everybody heals in their own ways. Everybody heals in their own ways. So how can we expect somebody who's going through pain to say, okay, now you should be grateful and you should just heal yourself instantly? It doesn't work that way. Correct? So I think the first aspect of gratitude I feel is to just be even accepting of this fact that if I'm in pain, my pain is real. And it's okay to accept my pain. But also, while I go through that pain, if I'm just wallowing in that pain, then I get into a chronic downward spiral. How am I helping myself? What happens is there is extreme degrees of the spectrum there, extreme ends of the spectrum. One end is toxic positivity. Don't accept what it is, just be positive, you know. And the other end is just wallow in your own pain. You know, so it's very crucial and important that we accept our pain, we accept what we're going through. It's real, it's absolutely real, and it's there. There's no need to just pep myself up saying, no, everything's fine and everything's going to be fine. We need to practice those affirmations, but after a while, giving ourselves that time, and everyone has a different time to come out of their own shells. So yes, we definitely need to come out of it. So along with accepting our pain, there's a great need to also know that we cannot give up hope. Hope is that one principle that keeps us going. You know, there will be a silver lining somewhere. I may not be able to see it right now because I'm clouded by pain. And emotions can cloud my thinking, cloud my clarity. I can't see clearly. Fine, no problem. But at some point of time, I'll see that ray of hope coming. You know, at every end of the night, there's the day, light of the day. You know, it just takes its own time. Sometimes it takes its own time. People always ask me, but when will it come? I don't know, and they don't know. But if we don't keep hope, there's nothing to live for. All we are living for then is pain. You know, so I think we need to give that time to heal ourselves and to accept our pain, but also we need to cultivate that hope and remember what Steve Jobs said at the Stanford commencement speech, that connect the dots backwards, because we cannot connect the dots forward. You know, we cannot see what's coming in the future, but many of us do have experience in our own lives, to whatever small degree we have our own stories where we had something happening to us. Only when we looked at it in retrospect did we see that, okay, it had a purpose. That pain had a purpose. I wouldn't have been who I am without having gone through that. So I think that's how we would look at it.
Yeah, what a powerful distinction between positivity and toxic positivity. I think that is such a profound and powerful point, because it's so easy to get into this habit, like you said so wonderfully, that you just force yourself to find the silver lining, that you just force yourself to think of something grateful. And actually, with you saying that it's actually violent, I mean, those words are so strong, but I totally agree with you, because it can be so harmful to someone in that moment of time. And we've all had a small experience of this, like, you know, the common example of when you trap your finger in a door or in a cupboard or a little, you know,
oh man.
Yeah, and imagine someone tells you to be grateful in that moment.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like,
hell is the word.
Yeah, we can't even be grateful at that time. What to speak of when there are like big challenges in the world and big challenges in our lives. And I like how you said that in the beginning we have to accept. I think that is such a great distinction that I think we should all try and remember. And at the same time, as Gaur Gopal Das pointed out, you don't want to be at the other end where you're just feeling completely wallowing in self-pity as well. You know, there's two extremes of that same thing. That's really, really powerful. Looking at all your comments, Coach Elegance, it's great to have you here as well. Thank you so much for being here. So many incredible comments flying through. If you have a question, please send it for Gaur Gopal Das. I would love to ask your questions to him as well. Oh, I'm seeing a few here now. Okay, here comes some really good questions. Kobe, good to see you here as well. Amazing. So this is a question for you, Gaur Gopal Das, that if we're in a relationship with someone and we feel that we've lost all enthusiasm for them and they've lost enthusiasm for us, how do we know whether to find enthusiasm again or whether to move on?
Thank you for that question. What an amazing thing, all relationship questions coming to monks. Once somebody asked me, Jay, you're a monk. How can you talk on subjects like relationships?
What did you say? I want to know what you said.
I said, man, look, I get people who have relationship issues come to me for the last 25 years. So I've heard stories for the last 25 years. Plus the principles of relationships remain the same, but there's human egos. Just the male-female relationship may have a little different dynamic, right? Or a relationship like that may have a different dynamic. But otherwise, principles of relationships really remain the same. But in any case, this question on if there's no enthusiasm from both sides, should one continue that relationship or should one not continue that relationship? I think, should a relationship be based on enthusiasm at all, is my first question. If that's the basis of your relationship, then one day you're going to feel enthusiastic, another day you won't. One day you like your partner, the other day you won't. One day you'll agree with your partner, the other day you won't. One day you'll like the looks of your partner, the other day you'll think, what's the big deal? So if this is going to be the basis of your relationship, we are in deep trouble because it's in a constant flux. Enthusiasm in a constant flux, romantic feelings are in a constant flux, likes and dislikes for each other in a constant flux. So all the time constantly changing every single day because the states of our mind are changing every single day. Correct. Situations are changing every single day between the two of them. So I think, what is it that one should be looking for if one needs to try and really move on in that relationship? I think we did mention about acceptance earlier on during our Facebook live session, acceptance of each other. But I feel in any relationship, the bottom line is friendship. Whether it's between a boyfriend and a girlfriend, spouses, parents and children, gurus and their disciples, teachers and their students, colleagues at work. The flavor of that friendship may be different. But the bottom line foundation of any relationship is friendship. And when we talk about friendship, friendship comes with it, brings along with it acceptance. We accept our friends for who they are, So I think if that friendship is strong, if that friendship is meaningful, all these other things are just a part of the roller coaster ride of a relationship. Do not ever compromise or give up on a relationship because I don't feel enthusiastic or I feel enthusiastic. I don't feel romantic or I feel romantic. I feel great or I don't feel great, because these keep changing. But the foundation is your friendship and your meaningful bonding and connection. If you find shelter in each other, if you deeply connect with each other, if that be the case and if you feel that, I don't think there is any need to move away from that relation. But if you don't feel that, then I think that it's time that you look for someone whom you feel that with. Yeah.
That's again. What I love about your answers is they're just so, in the beginning, they just sound so counterintuitive, but actually they're so refreshing. And I think that is such a really interesting way for the mind to think, because like you straight away said, I don't think a relationship should even be based on enthusiasm, because enthusiasm goes up and down. I'm like, wow, yeah, that's such a brilliant answer, because it's so easy for us to just, again, lock into these conditionings, as you said, on our Facebook Live, where these default modes of, oh, this is what a relationship is meant to be, or this is what it's supposed to be powered by. And as soon as you take those away, there's so much openness of mind. I absolutely love that. I want to ask you an interesting question. What is an insight in this book that has helped you overcome a challenge lately? Because I've heard you tell stories of reflections, and you have this amazing ability to look at your life through the lens of wisdom. And I mean, I've heard you for years tell so many great stories of how you've been able to see how this wisdom actually transforms into actual real life. What's a challenge that you overcome lately with a piece of wisdom that you share in the book?
Yeah, I in the book I spoke about how my spiritual teacher Radhanath Swami, he who wrote this beautiful book, The Journey Home, incredible book. He I once went to him. The story is there in the book, and I once went to him and I started complaining to him about everything that was going wrong in the monastery, in the ashram, and it was for 45 minutes. I just kept ranting and raving. You know, only complaints, only negative. This is years back. And then he heard me out patiently for 45 minutes. And that's a symptom of an evolved human being. Somebody who gives you a keen ear to first listen, to first listen to what the other person has to say. Because most people, they listen to reply. They don't listen to understand, But here he was, listening not to reply, listening to understand what I had to say. And for 45 minutes non-stop, I kept speaking. Now, as I was done, he said, "Are you done?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Can I say something?" I said, "Yeah." And then for 45 minutes, he kept talking about the positive things that were happening in the monastery, in the ashram. And they were all happening. It's not that they weren't happening. But my mind was so consumed by the negative that I had lost the ability to see what the positive things that were going on around me.
Mm.
So then he told me, "Hey, look, I'm not saying that the problems are not there and they're not real problems. They're real problems." And he even went through them and saw what to do with them. He said, "But the problem is not the problem. The problem is your mind is consumed by the problem." So he said, therefore, you have to learn the art of focusing on the positive and getting the strength from there to deal with the negative. If you're just focusing on the negative, how do you get the strength to deal with your problems? You derive your strength by being consumed by the good things that are happening in life, isn't it? Therefore, don't they say that when things are going good, be grateful, and when things are not going so good, be graceful? You see, because they're not going so good at times. But when we lose our graciousness, like I did, I was very negative and bitter about it. So then I took that as a great lesson for me. And that very same day after I met him, I went down for lunch. And when I came back in my room, I had a cumin seed stuck in my tooth. And my tongue kept going to this cumin seed all the time. And then I realized, hey, wait a minute. There's 31 other teeth in my mouth with nothing stuck. Well, my tongue doesn't go there. It's the nature of the mind and the tongue, like the tongue, to be consumed by what's not right. But and I definitely had to take the cumin seed out of my tooth, of course. But I learned a very crucial and important lesson. And lately, I recollected that entire episode because we are dealing with a whole lockdown situation here in Mumbai. Mumbai is really badly hit, and so is Los Angeles, as we were having a conversation the other day. You told me, right? A bad situation. So we have been in a strict lockdown. And despite that, a couple of our monks tested COVID positive last week. They're in the hospital. So I was discussing with the management of how we should be doing things, And you know how it is when you have multiple people talking together as a team, things don't always go your way. And I have to look at it from the perspective of, hey, what they're talking is making sense as well. At that point of time, I remembered what my spiritual teacher taught me, that, hey, look, you have to focus on the positives and deal with the negatives. So that's when I started seeing what the management had. For 4.5 months, we had no case inside. We were absolutely strict. And even the case that came in, 2 or 3 of our people who got infected, they got infected because of an error that happened because somebody walked in, an Amazon package came. You know how it is, So yeah, it did help me recently to just keep my mind on the positives and then deal with the challenge, Otherwise, my mind was tending towards just thinking of what's going wrong in the management here at the ashram.
We really hope those monks a speedy recovery as well.
Oh yes, thank you, Jay. Thank you so much.
We hope that they have a speedy recovery, and You know, it's exactly what you said. It's such a difficult time right now, and we have to really, really accept where things are. But at the same time, like you're saying, it's so easy to amplify. I know you give this beautiful acronym of the mind, where you talk about how the mind magnifies so many of our challenges. One of my favorite acronyms and teachings from you. And I think that what you're saying now, when you're looking for the cumin seed, it's so true that you have everything's great, and this one part is just magnified to feel like the biggest thing.
And if it's on a long flight when you don't have dental floss,
I love it. I love it. Everyone, as you can tell, I could talk to Gaur Gopal Das for hours, which we will do. He is going to come on as a guest onto my On Purpose podcast, where we will not limit the conversation at all. Today, I wanted to make sure his book came out literally just a week ago, 4th August in the United States. It's called The Way of the Monk. I highly recommend the book. I highly recommend you follow Gaur Gopal Das as well on Instagram and on Facebook. He's absolutely incredible, one of my favorite people in the world, and his teachings are just brilliant. As you've had a little glimpse today. Today has literally just been like the tip of the iceberg on Facebook and on Instagram, but I highly recommend that you go and grab a copy of The Way of the Monk and follow him across social media as well, because I promise you that you will not be let down in any way. And like I said, if you've enjoyed these two conversations, I too feel in my heart, like I'm saying this honestly, these needed to be like an hour and a half each on Facebook and Instagram. So we will do that on the podcast. So soon Gaur Gopal Das will be a guest on our podcast On Purpose, where we won't have to cap the time and we won't have to do these short bursts. So please look out for that. Thank you everyone who listened today. Like I said, I have put the links into the comments. Get the book on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, Bookshop, Sounds True, and IndieBound. The links are in the comments right now. So take a screenshot of my pinned comments so that you can go and grab it later. The book's called The Way of the Monk. And Gaur Gopal Das, I believe on Instagram, is Gaur Gopal D.
Gaur Gopal Das, yes.
Oh, Gaur Gopal Das on Instagram. Yeah. So if you just type in Gaur Gopal Das. But thank you again, Gaur Gopal Das.
Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you. And we must do these sessions for Think Like a Monk as well.
Absolutely, definitely.
We will reverse